What if it's not about a building? What if it's not about stained glass or steeples? What if it's about just Jesus?
All right, part two, kind of continuing off, be my guest. Usually I get excited about part twos, but this one's, I felt like all the pressure was on me. We left here last time, Corey, after that, and you came to me and you said, man, I'm really surprised you didn't loop around and finally agree with what we're talking about.
Well, I wasn't too surprised.
Right, but, and then you also said, man, I feel like people could be offended by that. I get that you're telling the truth, but...
Oh, people are definitely offended.
And
just people that want it all to fall in place in a righteous, godly way, and for everybody to be, in unity and all the...
But I think if you get offended by something like that, then Lord have mercy, you're going to get offended by everything.
When we started this podcast, this whole podcast was started out as a way for Corey to share the gospel. And then I kind of saw an opportunity to simplify the things that seem complicated. And that's kind of what I was pushing to Corey, and Corey loved it. And then Savannah, you came along and we took the peanut butter and jelly sandwich kind of method.
Mm-hmm.
Break it down as though somebody knows nothing. And how do you explain it to them? And that's what we've done with the whole thing. But as Savannah, as you and I have kind of developed in our relationships, kind of developed through this with Christ, it's kind of turned into our personal church. Our journey and our education of this has kind of been
Absolutely.
Almost exposed here. It's almost like a reality, like this is our church. Mm-hmm. This is our time to soak it in. And, we don't get to go home and pray about it. We give honest, live, real reactions right here. As I was scrolling through Titus on that, Corey, with the Be My Guest thing with the house.
That's crazy how that came about.
That wasn't planned. I read that and I was almost...
You just so happened to say it out loud, didn't you?
Yeah, I was ready to pause the podcast. Hold on, let me process this and move on,
A lot of that stuff happened the last episode. Things come out.
I wish that you would have took a little clip of where you heard that and said that, because it's funny that just like, was it a coincidence?
Yeah, no, it was God moving. It was intended to be the process through here. But I said all that to say that we don't get it right. We do say things that are offensive to people. We do things that are questionable to the church because we're not ingrained to this. We're not indoctrinated. This is real life, us learning this stuff for the first time. And I don't hold back. If I have an opinion or if I think something, it comes out because someone else is thinking the same thing.
Well, and we're not intentionally doing it to be combative or to cause a stir. These are real life thoughts. This is what's going through our minds as we're talking about these things.
That's right. But at the end of the day, our heart is here to grow with Jesus and to be honest and to create a space for other people that are figuring it out just like we are. And that's what it's all about.
Heck yes. That's why I love it. I don't ever feel like it's anything other than that. I know that, lots of times y'all say something that I've never really thought about, and it's really helped me in my journey, and that's the way it should be, because you're talking about not being in this thing your whole life.
Mm-hmm.
Seeing everything of how church people think, how church people act, their reactions normally to certain situations and circumstances. And it's really in a lot of ways refreshing to just see how it would be without all that. And sometimes I don't know how to do that. And so it's just really helped me unbelievably. I want us all to be honest and just, man, you don't see it, you don't like it, you don't feel it, you don't think that others should be doing certain things like that, or you don't really do it, and but you actually say it, like, because it's hard. It's not easy to do. So you just tell it like it is, and that's what's great.
That's a
That's
podcast. We're here to verbally let people watch us and listen to us grow and learn. And first off, I want to apologize to anybody that we may have offended by doing these things.
Hmm.
But at the end of the day, we ask for your grace. We ask for the grace of everybody while we learn out loud, you know?
Absolutely. I couldn't have said that any better because we never want to intentionally offend someone. That's not what this platform is for.
With that being said, also with saying everything that I also think that if me learning about God and Jesus offends you in any way with the way I respond to that, maybe it's time you back up and work on that foundation just a little bit.
Amen.
absolutely. Um, if there's anything that I could talk to anybody about that has been church, that has been in the church, is work on getting to a place, and you might have to go through hell to get there. Maybe you already went through hell to get there, but to not be offended. Because I've said it so many times, the minute you get offended, the minute you walk away from doing for the kingdom because some human offended you, some person offended you, and you say, I've been church hurt. Well, I don't know if you've been church hurt or not. Maybe you got hurt by somebody that said, "Yeah, I go to church," or "Yeah, I was at that church that you got hurt at." But I mean, that doesn't mean that this was a person with a relationship with Jesus, or it could have been a person that was just a baby in Christ, and they didn't even have roots where they were. So you got offended because you wasn't rooted, and they offended you because they wasn't rooted. But the most important thing is that we got to get to a place to where we don't get offended, because if we get offended, then it's all about us.
Well, and as humans, that is one of the hardest things. We're all easily offended. We're going to be offended about something. And as soon as, we're preaching that you don't get offended, but then yet we still get offended.
You know what? I take it back. Get offended. Yeah,
That was like a quick 180 there.
yeah, get offended, because
I think it's how you handle being offended.
well, you need the experience. Most new Christians, you're going to jump into it. You're going to be on fire, and you've never really been around a lot of people. You've only been around your family, your life, where you dropped all your guards and you're comfortable, and you're not really used to dealing with other people. And the church is a place where you join together with people. Forsake not the assembling of yourselves together. You're trying to join, you're trying to be in unity with the body to make up the hands and feet of Jesus. So, yes, get offended, because getting offended, and the more you can get offended, means the more you're getting engaged in the work of Jesus, and you are really going to see how people are, and where they lack and where they don't lack, where they need growth and where they don't need growth. And when you get offended, whatever don't kill you just makes you stronger. It makes your skin thicker. And one day you'll get to the place after getting offended so much that you won't get offended no more.
I couldn't agree with you more, Corey. I've got a story to share. It's kind of left field just a little bit. So me and my family, we were out eating the other day, and my wife, Terry, she had mushrooms, and she doesn't like mushrooms. They were on a plate, and
Yeah.
she told Maddie, my youngest daughter, she said, "Hey, will you eat this? I dare you to eat it." And she looks at it. She's,
I could see Terry looking at that.
Maddie's looking at it. And she's like, I don't know. And so she goes to take a bite of it. It falls off the spoon or the fork, rolls down her shirts, and it's all over. She starts crying. Worst thing in the world, right?
Maddie did?
Yeah, she didn't want to eat the mushroom anyways, but now it's all over her shirt. It smells, and she was devastated. So she was crying, and she finally got herself back together. She's sitting there. The worst part's over, right? And then she puts her foot down. realizes that it actually
Right on
fell
it.
in her shoe.
No.
It was
Oh.
in her shoe. So now she has squished this mushroom in her sock and in her croc, and it's all over her foot. She holds her foot up.
Yeah,
She's
what
just-
a crock.
She's bawling, crying at this point, but her heel is just covered in mushroom juice.
Man.
Just because we think something's bad,
Yeah,
it can always get just a little bit worse. And when we think that we're offended,
that's good. That's good because you get offended. You think you're offended, and maybe you are offended. But the real bad thing is that when you let it grow roots
mhm,
in your life, and then everywhere you go and every time you take a step, you put your foot in it, and it all begins to just smear into your life, and you're offended, and now you're offended, and now you're bitter. And now you can't even do church work. You can't even help nobody because you don't like the church no more. So you step away from the church. You step away from your prayer group. You step away from the choir. You step away from preaching. You step away from the kids ministry. You step away from the youth. You step away from everything that you was helping for the kingdom because you've been offended. And now you're just really covered in it from head to toe, and the devil's just laughing. He's like, man, I love this.
I wasn't sure why I was supposed to share that story, but that was it.
Heck
That just happened
yes.
this weekend. But so to back up a little bit, back on this part 2 of the Be My Guest. So I went home and I really reflected on this. It hit me, man, it was really, really tough. I feel like you're always kind of hearing things of the Bible, but I don't know that I've actually heard that part, that we're supposed to welcome guests into our home. And I don't know why that hurts me so much, but it did. And I went home and I told Terry, my wife, about it, and she said, "Well, what'd you say?" And I said, "Well, I told him I didn't really want guests in my house." She says, "Well, why? I mean, but you don't mind guests in the house. You just are okay with not having guests in the house too." And she's like, "Well, what do you think about it now?" And then it really hit me because I'm a terrible host in that sense. But we also just got back from the beach by staying in our aunt's house. So we were literally just a guest in someone's home that they weren't even there. And I had
And
no
she
qualms in
opened
doing
it up,
that. Yes.
Arms open wide without a second guest.
Exactly. So that's what I'm talking about. I've got no qualms being the guest. I'm comfortable in other people's houses.
She's just a better woman in Christ than us.
Right. I make myself at home in your house. I don't mind doing that. But I do have some type of reservations about opening my own house up. And I'm not sure, but I'm going to continue to self-reflect on that and come up with my own way to move forward. So
From listening to you, though, I don't think it's because it's your sanctuary. You don't want people in your space. You don't want the work that goes with it. It creates this extra job on you.
I think it's too being afraid that you won't be the perfect host.
I don't want to be a bad host, but at the same time, I also want everyone just to have the same respect I would at someone else's house.
But I really think that you're a great host. Like when I come over to your house, you don't push nothing on nobody. You're just,
But I feel like we're different. We're like I am family, but but I feel like you're family too. When you come here,
So you think he might be different if it's not family or if it's not me?
mm-hmm.
Yeah. Well, Savannah's daughter actually kind of opened my eyes one weekend. They were over, and they're my nieces, and my girls were doing something. I said, "Whoa, hey, easy now. We've got guests. We don't need to be doing that." And Savannah's daughter looks at me. She said, "Who's the guest?" I said, "You are." She said, "We're not guests. We're family."
That's true. That's good.
They were little, yeah.
Through Titus, with Paul speaking, I feel like that's the way we're supposed to be with everybody. So maybe I need to get out of my comfort zone and realize that it's not about being the perfect host. It's all about just inviting people in as though they are family.
Being welcoming.
Yeah.
Absolutely. And I was looking up the place here in Acts 5:42. And it says, this is when the new church started, after Christ had been crucified, after they had been filled with the Holy Spirit, directly after they had been filled with the Holy Spirit. And it says, and daily in the temple and in every house, from house to house, they were teaching, they were eating, they were preaching. And so that's a thing I was trying to say too. Like, they definitely were doing that. Whether we all, slack or not, or we don't do it, or if it's hard to do, they did it. And somehow, I would like to be better at it. I would like to do it more often.
Well, we did baby steps today. My husband's opening up his eyes to fellowship. We fellowshipped prior to podcasting. We got together, and he doesn't like to have people over. But you two are different.
It really doesn't at all?
Mm-mm.
Wow.
No, but he would have you two over anytime. It didn't matter. You're not guests, you're family, type situation.
Well,
It
I
doesn't faze
appreciate
him.
that, because I would definitely see Stephen as, family, but I'm glad that he feels that way toward me too.
Absolutely, yeah.
It's awesome.
So I did do a lot of reflection this week, and I think that's what this podcast is all about. It's the same thing as what I said when we opened this thing up. This is where we learn. You get our initial reactions before we have time to really reflect and think about it. If I came in and I said, "Oh, yep, that's what I do, Corey. That's the way I always open my home up to everybody," like that would be exactly what a lot of people would do, whether they actually reflected on it or not. So I think that's important, and I think that's the direction of this podcast. Is we've just got to be honest, and we've just got to be able to have that self-reflection, and we may not be able to do it in the 30, 45 minutes that we do each episode. Sometimes it takes more, and I could easily cut all that out and say, that makes me look bad. Let's not put that in there.
Yeah, and I think it's great, dude, because there's so many people that may be thinking about getting their foot wet, getting a toe wet with the church, with Christianity, trying to fill it out. And people that's really who we're trying to talk to. I mean, we're talking to anybody who will listen and anybody we can help, but we're trying to reach the unchurched. We're trying to reach the unreachable, the untouchable. And I believe a lot of people feel the way you do and what you said, and it's the truth. And maybe above all, it would help open people's eyes to say, well, I mean, it is hard and it's not easy, but maybe I could give it a whirl. Maybe, maybe I could find a church and maybe I could find a family, that we could open our homes and we could, have another whole kind of fellowship that you don't know nothing about.
Dude, you're exactly right. You just opened my eyes to something major.
I love it when you do that. Hey, where's our sound?
Yeah, I don't have one. I don't know.
Yeah, you do.
That one?
Yeah.
Yes.
Whenever we start this, if you're not indoctrinated from a child, if you come into this clean slate,
Yeah.
all you get is you get a book. It's a manual. It's an SOP, standard operating procedure.
Oh,
That's your guide. Figure it out. You can't follow all these in one day. You can't learn it all in one day.
No.
Some days you're on a podcast flipping through and you find Titus and realize you're supposed to have guests in your home. You can't do it in one day. It just doesn't happen.
Yeah.
There's a learning curve. There's an onboarding process, just like at any other job. This isn't our job. This is our eternity. This is our life. This is our salvation. This is where we become better Christians, but it's not overnight.
No.
We have to have those moments of reflection. We have to have those moments where we realize we're not perfect.
Yeah.
But that's okay too, because we're going to get there because God
Turn the
has
music
grace.
Last word.
I don't need music, but that's all I got. It just hit me that's not supposed to be that way.
That is
I love it when you get like that too. It's so exciting.
hey, ladies and gentlemen, that was straight from God.
Mic drop.
Yeah, it's revelation, man. That's why it's so beautiful. We all get in here sometimes and talk about stuff that we don't really even know what we're going to say or what's going to be brought up. But sometimes God will just dump out a whole revelation on us. I'm serious. If you really will just try by baby steps, maybe if you're a person that's never been around a church, try it. Give it a whirl and put all your guards down and go in looking for a place. You don't have to stay at the first church you go to, but go in and look for a place, a church that makes you feel like family. That makes you feel like perhaps if you would let your guards down and you would want to clean your house up, that you would invite people over, that this would be the church you would want to do it. And try that, because our family, as being born again Christians and followers of Christ, these people did go. This is all they had was each other. They left everything to follow Jesus, and they went from house to house, and they opened their homes for Jesus, and they cooked meals together, and the other disciples opened their homes, and it's a very, very beautiful thing in the Lord, and it is a family, and it's people that you can lean on when maybe you don't even have nobody else. And that's what Jesus wants. He wants us to be so united with such unity that when one is down, the whole body is down. And when one rejoices, the whole body rejoices. And we help each other, and we lift each other up, and we share the needs, and we fill the gaps in the body. And that's how we become the hands and feet of Jesus. Just Jesus. Be blessed.